Maximum News is a political satire podcast. The views expressed by the hosts or guests do not necessarily represent the views of the network or our sponsors. Also, it's very hard to talk about people like Ted Cruz without saying lots and lots of swear words. So maybe don't listen with the small little children persons.
Imagine forcing yourself to tell lies all day about everything in ways that were so transparent and so outlandish that there is no way the people listening to you could possibly believe anything you said. Then imagine doing that again and again and again every day of your professional life for your entire life. Could you do that?
Could you do that? TJ Clark, could you do that?
I don't know, man. Sounds like a guy who knows what he's talking about.
It sure does, doesn't it? Guys, welcome to Maximum News, Episode 4. My name is Michael Zampino.
And I'm TJ Clark.
That, of course, was Fucker Gnarlson, a.k.a. Tucker Carlson, referring to liberal media. But wowie zowie, if we aren't in yet another thou dost protest too much scenario... Yeah. Because the Fox defamation suit with Dominion has been escalating. Lots and lots of more information has come out, including lots and lots of text messages betwixt Fox News employees, basically outright saying, we know that this is dog shit and we are peddling it regardless. So the two biggest things that came out that caught me were there's a few things. There's a memo between Maria Bartiromo and Sidney Powell, which we're going to get into. There's the text messages between Tucker Carlson and I believe like Laura Ingraham and other people where they're calling Sidney Powell batshit crazy. And
hot and spicy.
And they're literally saying that she's lying. There's a text between Tucker and someone else where the quote from Tucker is, quote, she is lying. Those words, exact words, she is lying regarding Sidney Powell. But the biggest one for me is an internal memo in which Rupert Murdoch straight up says we need to do everything we can to help Trump and the Republicans. Now,
lovely.
You have dipped toes into the news biz.
Oh, yeah.
Now, let's get a little bit of perspective as far as how bad... Why, first off, for people who don't really know, why shouldn't a news organization say something like that? People might not understand why it's wrong.
Well, yeah, because it pretty much immediately makes them not a news organization.
News organizations are not supposed to prop up either political party.
Yeah, of course, the idea and the goal of journalism is to be objective.
Correct.
You should go after everyone equally. Like, journalism likes to pride itself on representing the people. They're called the fifth estate or third estate. Which one is it? I don't know.
The fifth, right?
Yeah, I think so. But it's like an unofficial branch of government representing the people, and we're supposed to check and balance anyone in office or people who hold power. And it's like giving us regular folk a voice. That's the main goal of journalism. So when you pick a side.
Right. Now, that's one of the big reasons why, we would never claim this show to be journalism in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Because we come right out and say, we're slanted. We're one. Our views are liberal. We're gonna be on that side most of the time, if not all the time. We are bringing you bits of news, but we're also here to sort of strip it apart and roast it and all of those things. But if you're calling yourself a news organization, it's one thing. We understand and accept that liberal or that bias is in the news, is there. It does exist.
Yeah.
We're not pretending that MSNBC doesn't lean left.
For sure.
There's a difference between leaning left and actually campaigning on behalf of political candidates. That you are never supposed to do. Like Sean Hannity being out there at Trump rallies endorsing Donald Trump should right then and there disqualify him from being able to call himself a journalist ever.
Didn't they also just like run stuff by Trump all the time? Like a lot
Absolutely,
of Trump
they
had,
did
a direct like line. To
well,
a
and
lot
especially
of the
after
right?
because one of the internal memos was talking about how it was hurting their bottom line. You know, it was hurting their stock price. Because they were losing viewers to Newsmax.
Because they weren't pro-Trump enough.
Exactly. So they're basically saying we got to do everything we can, and so okay, so that's where you get into the part where it goes beyond just having a bit of bias in the way you report the news.
Yeah, like I think everyone knows that Fox is slanted, right? But it's like they still shouldn't say the thing, right? Like
they use this fair and balanced. Remember when they said that?
Yeah, and like no one has known them to be that, but it's like they're flat out just saying the thing. They're not even pretending.
There's a quote in a court document regarding Tucker Carlson that says that pretty much, and I'm going to quote it not exactly, but it says that no reasonable person would believe the things that Tucker Carlson is saying, and therefore it can't be
protected or whatever.
Right. So that if your bosses are in court saying, and here, this is another thing I wanted to address during the show today, is one of the things that people keep coming back to is like, everybody's against them, everybody's lying, blah, 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 blah. But then they get to court, and when they're in court and they're forced to tell the truth, and they say these things like, no reasonable person would ever believe Tucker Carlson. When you approach a Fox News Tucker Carlson viewer with that, they will try and and they are basically going to say, oh, well, they couldn't tell the truth in that situation. They couldn't really say that Tucker tells it like it is.
Yeah.
But if that's the case, my friends, that's perjury.
Yeah.
That's lying under oath. So are all of these people, when they get to court and they say these things that they say about like Sidney Powell being a pretty wackadoodle, which I believe is a direct quote.
Yeah, I just read that. Yeah.
That are they perjuring themselves just for the sake of the big lie? Are they all perjuring themselves by not bringing this supposed evidence of voter fraud that they're not bringing? Because that's the other thing too, is it's like, oh, well, why, when you say, well, why didn't any of this supposed evidence of voter fraud hold up in court? Oh, well, they refused to look at it.
Yeah.
No. Go look at the court documents. They didn't present it. It wasn't presented. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I don't know. What do you think?
Oh man,
like could all those people be committing perjury? Like, what's to gain? How about that? What's to gain from that?
Perjury. It feels like inflammatory, right? Like, not only does it feel it's dangerous to just when people to say things that just flat out aren't true when you call yourself a news organization, like
knowingly, most importantly.
Yeah. Like, and you're just saying lies, but you're still calling yourself a news station. Like, that's dangerous. People believe you. People trust you, right?
There's reasons. There's laws.
That's even more dangerous than perjury. Like, perjury, like, they're not just lying in court. They're lying. Like, that's why we have so many like people believing strange conspiracy theories, and so many people's distrust in government and in news. There's like local news, especially, is hard in Oklahoma because those people have been poisoned by the national networks. So now they have like no trust for the local networks, even though it's like 20-year-olds out of college. Like, there's no like giant liberal machine in local news, right? But like they just think everyone is like fake news. You're either like supporting these guys or you're not news. When it's the exact opposite. And also news is in a tough financial spot. I can understand like doing desperate things to hold on to viewers. It's tough to hold on to TV viewers this day. Like, it is really hard.
But
so
here's
people
another,
are getting like more and more desperate.
But here's the thing: if the bottom line is that, like, okay, we're a television station that needs to make money, and we're willing to do these things, then just take that news part off.
Totally.
Stop pretending you're news. Be what you are. Be the right wing version of the Daily Show or whatever the fuck you think you're being with the Gutfield's fucking I'm a comedian bullshit.
Yeah.
Have you seen Greg Gutfield trying to be funny?
No.
He's in front of an audience and they're not laughing, and it is fucking hilarious.
That's a special kind of silence.
Man, that guy sucks. He's so fucking not funny. Yeah, so you got Tucker Carlson admitting that he knows this stuff is bullshit. You got Hannity saying he didn't believe it for a second. That was a direct quote, not for 1 second. All these people saying these things under oath. Which one is true? Are they lying in court or are they lying to you on TV?
Yeah, exactly.
Which one is it?
Yeah.
And if they're lying, if you're saying they're lying in court, then I got it. Whether you like it or not, that's against the law.
Yeah.
And Hannity's going to go to jail.
Yeah.
And Tucker.
I love it.
It's wild. So let's get into Sidney Powell's sources.
Oh yeah, this is great, right?
All right, let me get this in front of me. So I'm pulling a lot of this information from a really good NPR article by David Folkenflick, David Folkenflick, who writes about this. And okay, so a woman who says the wind talks to her and put forth claims of election fraud in the 2020 presidential race that she admitted were, quote, pretty wackadoodle, turns out to be a key source of allegations that Fox News presented night after night to millions of viewers late that fall. So the author of the memo in which Powell and Bartiromo put so much stock offered detailed and utterly false claims of how Dominion voting systems help rig the election for Biden. Here's where it gets fun. She also shared a bit about herself, writing that she gains her insights from experiencing something, quote, like time travel in a semi-conscious state.
All right.
The existence of the memo, they don't know, they don't name who wrote it. Here's another great quote. And the woman asserted that the late Fox News chairman Roger Ailes and Fox Corporation founder Rupert Murdoch, quote, secretly huddled most days to determine how best to portray Mr. Trump as badly as possible. So Rupert Murdoch, Roger Ailes, they secretly huddle most days to figure out how to best portray Mr. Trump badly, right?
Yeah.
Fox News does this. When she wrote this, Ailes had been dead for more than 3 years. Here's another quote. Who am I?
She heard him in the wind.
That's who's talking to her in the wind.
Yeah.
Is the ghost of Roger Ailes. Who am I and how do I know all this? I have had the strangest dreams since I was a little girl, the woman wrote in the email shared by Powell with Bartiromo and Lou Dobbs. This is my favorite quote. I was internally decapitated and yet I live. Do we want to get into that phrase for a minute? Internal decapitation.
I mean, if that doesn't describe a lot of Republican things.
I had my head cut off from the inside. What?
Yeah, that's what it's like listening to Fox News, right? Like you watch Fox News, it severs you from the inside.
This is great. The full force, this is a quote from Dominion's legal brief. The full force of the email's lunacy comes across by reading it in its entirety.
Hell yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So their biggest like proof is this lady who talks to the wind and has ESP dreams.
Yeah. There's something in here where
where's this lady getting her mushrooms? That's what I want to know.
There's something in here where the lady says like that the wind tells her she's a ghost, but quote, she doesn't believe. I don't believe that. Yeah. He keeps telling me I'm a ghost, but I'm like, I'm alive.
The wind's like, Fox is planning to destroy Trump, and that one she believes.
Oh my God. So here's a couple of those quotes that they have in the article. Laura Ingraham is the one who wrote, quote, Sidney Powell is a bit nuts. She wrote to Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity on November 15th, 2020. The next day, Tucker Carlson told a producer, quote, Sidney Powell is lying. Wow. Rupert Murdoch texted the Fox News Chief Executive Suzanne Scott on November 19th, texted, terrible stuff damaging everybody, I fear. The whole narrative that Sidney was pushing, I did not believe it for 1 second. That's a quote from Sean Hannity in court. So, yeah, I mean, it gets a little kooky. I mean, this article goes on. It's so long. There's so much to this.
I would love to, like, see the look on their faces, or do you think they cared when they found out about this lady?
Oh, when they found out she was lying?
Yeah, or just how, like, insane she was.
I mean, they obviously cared a little bit if they were talking to each other about how crazy it was and how, like, it was damaging.
Yeah.
But then, you know, like I said, you got those internal memos saying that they had to push it because they're losing viewers.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're like, this is what viewers want to hear.
I mean, these are the things, these are the quotes. This is the type of article with the type of facts that people need to be bringing to the dinner table, you know, with their Fox News viewing family members. And ask that question of, are they, which part are they lying about?
Yeah.
Which one is the lie? Yeah. Is it what they said on TV or what they said in court? And really try and get them to like face that and you know, like, this is how we get through.
Yeah.
Because now this is my favorite part about all these lawsuits and all these things is what now all these court documents that are beautifully public record because this is America and we have the right to see those things. And so now we can see what these people are saying under oath versus what they're saying on TV where they're not facing the threat of perjury.
What's sad, though, is if these people hear about that in the news, they think that the news is making up those court documents, too. Like, you can't, I don't know if we can, you know, like, how do you get them to trust?
You FOIA.
Fox isn't reporting on their own stuff, I imagine.
No, you print the actual court documents out.
Yeah.
Because it's public record.
Yeah.
You know, this is directly from the court.
Yeah.
You made that up. You printed that on your.
Yeah,
you made that on Microsoft Word.
An AI made this, and I know it. You typed the words.
I mean, they'll always find a way to figure out how to make it a lie. But that in itself just helps illustrate how weak the entire thing is.
Yeah. I think sane people can look at it, and I like to think there's a few.
Yeah.
People who are like still looking at things objectively,
for sure,
and can be like, "Oh yes, this is."
I don't know how often I think like, do you hear yourself? Like that's what more people need to say. Do you hear yourself? Do you hear the hoops that you're jumping through to make this somehow possibly true?
Yeah, and I do love, and we're seeing this a little bit locally when like. Even finally, other Republicans are like, "No, we're sounding crazy, you guys. Can we dial it back?" Yeah. And everything from like the Medicare stuff to locally, like the drug bills, everything. Like people are just like, it's refreshing to see. And there might only be one or two of them, but just hearing a Republican being like, "Hey, Ryan Walters is a little out of control," is refreshing because hopefully, you know his. But the thing is, like we were talking about before the show, like you'd like to think, oh yeah, this guy's constituents might actually listen to him, but no, his constituents are going to vote his ass out. Probably.
Yeah. Well, do you have? I mean, let's give credit where credit's due. Do you have who said it?
Yeah. So there was kind of two examples of this. One was
Mark McBride. No. Danny McBride? No. McBride, right?
Yeah. So one was about the drag performances, and you want to start just by listening? Should we listen?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
All right, and let's listen to it, and then we'll. I'd like you to hear it from the dude's own voice.
Absolutely.
All right, here it comes.
This committee would be saying that rather those children now are under the care of no longer their parents to make those decisions as to what they want to take them to and raise. And would you say now that those are the government's kids to take them and raise as we see fit?
God forbid in Oklahoma somebody doesn't like cowboys assembling. you know, and we
guy
single out different.
But the other guy, the first guy to talk was Judd Strom, and he's a Republican. He was the only Republican on the committee to vote no for the drag bill, and he had a few other quotes that were actually made sense. Our friend,
he said, "God forbid someone."
Yeah, Damien, our friend Damien Shade shared this on Facebook, and it's a great quote. We work a lot in the building on parent choice. For years, we have said that there is nothing more sacred than a parent and their right to raise their child however they want. So this is this guy. This guy's like,
right.
Hey, we're dealing with the education bill.
This
where we're
is
saying,
exactly
like, parents,
what you and I talked about last week.
Like we're fighting in another chamber about like parents should have the right to whatever.
That only parents can choose. That only parents are the ones with the capability of making choices for their own children.
Yeah, but if it comes except when it comes to anyone remotely LGBTQ,
thank God.
But just hearing a single Republican say, "Hey, maybe this isn't cool." It's refreshing. It's refreshing.
It really is, and more of them need to do that. And shout out to a personal family friend, Logan Phillips, who was a Republican that lost his seat by standing up and voting against anti-trans bills.
Yes,
one of the good ones that goes back to when Republicans and Democrats just disagreed on fundamental policies that weren't deep-seated moral issues on how they viewed humanity. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
So shout out to both Logan Phillips and who
Strom was the one about
that's
the drag.
right.
Now there was another Republican, and I don't remember his name exactly until I played this, but he's from Moore. I remember he's a Republican from Moore, and he introduced a bill in a committee to basically rein in Ryan Walters' powers.
Yes.
If you don't know, Ryan Walters is
he's now the superintendent of schools,
and he's of course trying to just deconstruct basically education and finally even
specifically public education.
Yes.
His fundamental goal is to make sure that only rich white kids are educated, and everyone else is dumb enough to keep voting against their own best interest.
Yeah.
Something that I've said a lot, and you'll hear me say it again and again and again, and just get fucking used to it because I'm gonna burn it out because it fucking matters. But if you're gonna keep them, you got to keep them dumb. If you're gonna keep them voting, keep them dumb and keep them voting. That's how you win Republican races. Keep them dumb and keep them voting.
Absolutely. And this guy, can I play another soundbite?
Please.
Again, this was so refreshing to hear this week.
I want to put this gentleman in a box.
Mark McBride.
I hate to be that blunt, but we have got to focus on public education and not his crazy destruction of public education.
And that shitty laugh you hear is Ryan Walters reacting.
Of course it was.
Here's a Republican from Moore, you've been to Moore.
Oh, yeah. Very Republican.
Yeah, and he's saying, like, hey, like, this guy is destroying public education.
if you're outside of Oklahoma listening, Moore is essentially like a suburb of Oklahoma City.
Yeah, it's big Broken Arrow. If you're a Tulsa person, Broken Arrow is big Moore vibes. So, seeing a representative from Moore say, we got to control this dude.
We got to rein this motherfucker in.
Again, it's refreshing seeing them finally stand up to these guys.
It's really coming out early how unqualified Ryan Walters is, because Ryan Walters' entire campaign and existence is performative.
Yeah.
Ryan Walters is essentially, he's a puppet. He wants to play a part. And that part is the own the libs, super right, super Christian, and none of it's real, I don't, even if he does believe the things that he believes, he has no idea how to make them happen. He has no idea how to implement these things. The man doesn't know how to do the job that he campaigned for.
No.
And the fact
they just want to destroy
public
systems.
education.
Yeah.
It's public education because, like I said, like the idea of everybody being able to receive the same level of education is terrifying to them.
Yeah.
And I think it was maybe episode 1 of this show where I talked about how important it is for them, because as people become more educated, they tend to gravitate towards more liberal policies. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily being, and because that's the other thing that people misconstrue is supporting liberal policy does not mean you are a Democrat. It does not mean you are a liberal. Whatever these labels that you're so turned off by. They hear the word and they think, oh, that is obviously bad.
Yeah.
So that's why the best approach is to approach someone, by describe to them a policy based on its merits. Just describe the merits of the policy. Don't tell them who wrote it. Don't, you know what I mean? Don't tell them who the bill is from. Tell them what the bill does. See what they think about it. And then say, that's a social policy, or, that's a democratic bill. That's because the labeling, man, is just is really what's killing it. It's just as long as it's got a fucking R by it.
Yeah, exactly. And they do such a good job of using fear to get these people, get parents to give in to these crazy ideas.
Yeah.
Because they did it leading up to the election. I mean, all the just making people believe there's straight up pornography in schools and this extreme language, just making you think that our schools are out here and you've got kids it's not the schools teaching our kids how to be good people.
I'll never forget.
It's their peers.
I'll never forget all the Penthouse magazines that my history teacher forced on me.
Yeah,
my English teacher was a real perv.
Oh man. And one other example of people stepping in finally and doing things is, and along the same lines. Did you hear Gittner Drummond?
He's
yeah. So he undid.
I'm not upset with him so far.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I am very surprised and enjoying because the last DA, whose name I can't, it's skip me right now. He's just an old evil.
Oh, Kunstweiler?
No, he's the Tulsa one. This is the state one who Gittner beat.
God.
I'm sure his name is here. Anyway, so he basically was gave the okay for Catholic online charter schools to be funded by the state, he found some legal basis for it, and because they were trying to find online schools, right? That we were going to allow the first Catholic online school in the state. We're going to give them money, and Gittner Drummond spoke out about it and undid it and was no, there's no legal basis for this. We can't give state money to a Catholic school.
Thank you.
And and it's just it's refreshing. And he's a Republican also, standing up for these ridiculous ideas, because it's just because
the scariest thing though is and our friend Logan is the example, is how many of the people that do these type of things almost immediately are voted out and lose their seat.
Yeah.
In states like
just
this.
Got elected though, so he'll be around at least a few years.
I know, at least he's got a little bit of time.
Yeah. Well, yeah, unless they try to remove him or whatever, but yeah. Anyway, I can't find the last DA. Oh, John O'Connor. John O'Connor was the
that's right
guy who he was did a lot of favors for Stitt from.
Oh yeah, it was going against McGirt and all that, going after McGirt, right?
Yeah.
God, they could not they would not give up. They obsessed with McGirt.
Oh, they still.
I know they're
Stitt
still
is after the tribes big time. Yeah,
that fucking asshole.
Yeah,
he sucks so bad.
He's the worst. Just thinking of his name gives me diarrhea.
Make me dookie.
Everything on my insides just dissolves out of anger.
Make you shit. So, have you heard about the quote Ukraine fatigue resolution?
I don't know. I do know I heard on Meet the Press today a lot of Ukraine talk.
So there's our favorite group of cuckoo banana dickheads.
Which one? There's so many.
Well, I mean, this is the whole crew basically.
Okay.
Run it down. You got Matt Gaetz,
Matt
Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, Andy Biggs,
the whole
Paul
crew.
Gosar, Anna Paulina Luna, Thomas Massey, Mary Mullen, Barry Moore, Ralph Norman, Matt Rosendale. This is the crew who says that quote. This is a direct quote from Paul Gosar. Russia is not our enemy. Ukraine is not our friend. Ukraine is not our friend. Russia is not our enemy. In one of those two orders.
Yeah.
Ukraine is not our friend. Russia is not our enemy.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
How?
Yeah, I know.
In what world.
Just because Biden is supporting Ukraine, it's like they're just contrarians, right? They just want to say the opposite.
If this happened in 2018 and Trump sent all this money over there, they'd be fucking touting how much of a beautiful humanitarian he is, and now they're all up in arms because while he was in Ukraine, fucking dodging bullets, Trump was in Ohio,
that's
giving out MAGA hats at McDonald's.
Yes, exactly. Meet the Press called it the first split screen moment of the next election. You know, because it's like Trump is at the train derailment, and Biden is in Kyiv, is in Ukraine, and they said like how Biden just totally wins that like split screen because Trump's whole thing was like, hey, well, Biden's not here, and like, he's busy being the first president in decades to go to an active war zone.
Yeah, to be in a fucking war zone
that we didn't have troops in. Like we've been like, I think Bush went to like, places where we had you're surrounded by an army base or whatever. But like we have no base over there. Yeah, like he just went over there
protecting him.
And they said it was pretty ballsy and like pretty badass.
Very
like,
ballsy.
It shows that he's like not too old, like he's still got some balls on him.
You know that was Biden being like, I need to show this motherfucker. Because he's like, that fat fuck would never do this.
Yeah, and like they like the federal government, like FEMA's there, they're going door to door.
Trump would never do that. He'd never make that trip.
And not only that, they said like Trump screwed up so much by going there because one, it's obvious politically, he's just like handing out hats.
Yeah.
And two,
at McDonald's.
He scaled back like protections, like environmental protections.
He rolled the regulations back that helped make that train derailment happen.
So he's a part of it. Yeah, he's a part of the problem.
And he's just using it as a photo op.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's so fucking disgusting.
He's so bad at it.
Well, and to be fair, Trump pulled back a lot of those regulations, but the deregulation strategy is a couple decades old now, and it started with Reagan.
Several,
Reagan was the one who a lot of those policies pulled back regulations in Jesus, a lot of industries that and look, there is an argument to be made about how certain regulations hurt businesses' ability to turn profit. But if those regulations are set in place to keep people from being poisoned or dying, then those are the sacrifices that you need to make to your bottom line.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Like, it's the quest for the bottom line, the quest for how to make an extra buck has made so many people so callous.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the idea of like, oh, but if you put this regulation on me, I can't make as much money. And so fuck all those people that might get hurt in the process.
Yeah.
Fuck, pull that regulation back so that I can get my bank account. I mean, what the fuck?
Yeah. And it's like
could it be more obvious?
And there are regulations that are like protections, usually for individuals or for the environment.
Yeah.
And
or for the industry sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
To keep the industry
we're just
running
not
properly.
Here, like, making laws just to like be a bummer to your bank account.
Like some of the exactly. Some of the regulations, for example, that like Texas was against, so they went on their own electrical grid, and then it all fucks up. You know what I mean? Exactly. And it's like, hey, some of those regulations were to help keep that shit from happening, dummy.
Yeah. And now you've created a new nightmare. And also, like, we're anti-regulations, but also we want to regulate what type of performances we have in libraries. Yeah. Like, again, back to the drag bill. It like drove me crazy.
2816.
To hear like, mostly Republicans like talking about, how we're
just
trying to
a reminder, House Bill 2816.
Like in a
this
week
is to protect our kids.
Yeah, in a week where I know in Tulsa we had 2, 3, 4 teenagers arrested for murder recently. Like we have
real danger.
We have teens,
actual danger,
getting in real trouble with real. I mean, these kids they've got poor mental health. They've got all kinds of things, right?
Yeah.
Instead of looking at the things that are making teenagers kill each other, we're going to look at drag queens. Because
that's what's making them kill each other, TJ.
That's the problem.
I saw a boy dressed as a girl, and now I want to kill everyone. What the fuck?
Yeah.
You know what really I don't know. Maybe the no, I don't want to. I was going to say maybe the shit absentee father and
man. And I wish I had the exact source of this. Maybe we can post it later, but my wife sent me a TikTok where a person was talking about, because the drag bill is happening in all sorts of states. It's not just Oklahoma. And she was in another state, and she was talking about the drag bill. And then she mentioned how there were like 13 or 14 people arrested in their state like that week for having sex with minors. And like the majority of them,
14, you said?
13 or 14. Yeah. It was all but 2 were pastors or preachers. Yeah. And one of them that wasn't was a husband of a pastor, and the second one was a police officer.
Yeah.
None of them were drag queens.
I am 10 times more terrified to send my child to a church than I am a drag show.
Yeah, absolutely.
10 is not enough. I am a million times more scared of sending my child to a church.
Yeah.
And I grew up in church. I know why I'm scared of it.
Yeah.
Motherfuckers.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
Yeah. You ever grown up Catholic? Boo. It's not fun times.
No thanks.
Bro, it was gross.
Yeah, man.
It was very gross.
They got cool archaeology, though. Or archaeology? Architecture?
Architecture, yeah.
That's the word. Words are hard when you've been
like,
up a long time.
What is it? I guess Gothic architecture is how you describe
like
it.
that.
Oh, man. Some of the downtown Holy Family Cathedral, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Unarguably beautiful.
Totally.
But wowie zowie, what a waste.
Exactly. I love when
Like,
it's like
if that
those
was made
churches
for
get turned
fine art.
Yeah. Or like when it gets converted to a Hard Rock Cafe.
Or like a friend of opinions like Ailes, John Stringer, who he and his wife were on our show yesterday.
House. Yeah.
They built they bought a church and turned it into their house.
Hell yeah.
And my favorite thing they told me is that the bed is on the altar. On the stage where the altar would be.
How perfect. Yeah.
With Christ looking right down on him. Just right down on him. We had a great conversation about that. If you want to check it out, hop on over and listen to episode 258 entitled hashtag Gaping for God.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. That's a whole kink
One of the
right there.
better episode titles in the recent months.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly. Churches just need to become like rock and roll and sex places.
I mean, we got a great studio here that was a church.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, absolutely. We just did a story about
beautiful
that. Beautiful
acoustics. It's finished. It's open. You can take tours now. I really, we're thinking about booking a tour. We should do one as a group.
Hell yeah, that'd be great.
Oh, I'd fucking love it.
I would love to see it. And it's an active studio still. Like people are still recording it.
Oh yeah, I remember when I was a little punk teenager. When I joined my first band, I remember all of our friends that had connections and a little bit of dough recorded at the church studio.
Hell yeah.
And we didn't get to. But I remember being like, man, I want to record our album at the church studio.
Yeah. Hell yeah. I grew up, my Leon and Russell and I had the same birthday.
Right on.
So my parents...
Which is?
April 2nd.
Right on.
Leon had a annual birthday party concert every year around my birthday. My parents always went to. So I heard about the church studio like growing up. And it was like this. We grew up in Oklahoma City too, and it was like this legendary place in Tulsa. Because it's what brought Stevie Wonder, George Harrison, like all these like music legends were in Tulsa because of the church studio.
Wasn't Mbop recorded there?
Was it?
I don't know. I'm gonna look it up.
I did not know that.
Where was Mbop?
They have their own studio now, I think, Hanson, downtown. Or they used to for a bit.
Yeah, they're let's see.
I love where this podcast is going. We've gone all sorts of places.
I know. That's what it does. This is how we keep it. This is how we keep it light.
Yeah. You just get angry about all the laws that are going to be passed.
It does not fucking say.
Well, let's just say it. Let's just pretend. Pretend. Legend has it that Mbop was recorded.
Well,
there.
I think Hanson recorded at some point, maybe even if it was like demos. I think that at some point in their career, they recorded something there.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's a pretty legendary place.
Absolutely. I still want to record something there.
I don't think he recorded there, but the weirdest like church photo, like because now they have a social media presence. You should follow them because sometimes like when bands are in town, they'll want to tour it. And when was it Cheap Trick was in town? They had the guy from Stranger Things with the cool hair. I can't think of his name right now.
Young one?
Yeah, well, he's like the older. He's like their babysitter. He's like the one who's like a senior.
Oh, Steve. Yeah,
Steve was with Cheap Trick.
That's fucking rad.
He like plays guitar with him sometimes.
What? That's cool.
And he was just like in the church studio because they were in town, like playing at the casino.
There's been a lot of cool people come through the church studio.
Yeah. I love the places. Tulsa's a cool place. If you aren't here. It's a little like safe little bastion in Oklahoma in the corner, and
still got to navigate through a lot of tough.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Stuff.
It's still very much in Oklahoma, very much in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
But music brings a lot of cool people here, and I think it's honestly what's kept it from being a total like conservative shithole is the music culture, and we have people like Jack White having like other second homes here, and other celebrities who have like hung out and like helped keep the place. Lana Del Rey, she puts billboards up. It's just weird. Tulsa has just like
dunking on sticks. That's my favorite part.
Dunking on cops. You gotta love that. That made me a Lana Del Rey fan. Oh, you're gonna dunk on your cop ex-boyfriend? Yeah.
That guy sucks.
Totally.
I forgot to tell you, I pulled a couple of the old soundboard clips from the old soundboard. When Toby and I recorded the first 2 episodes, I was on a different soundboard. I've since upgraded.
Nice.
And I was like, I need to bring a couple of the classics over. The Howard Dean.
Oh man, I missed that guy.
I missed the days when that could ruin a political career.
Was it. That's all it took back in the day.
Yep.
All the networks!
All the networks. That was one of my favorite Giuliani quotes. By the way, there's a documentary that just started on MSNBC, I believe. That is about Giuliani called "When Truth Isn't Truth." Just kind of diving into the first episode was kind of his his backstory growing up and how he got to be the sort of malleable
slug of a person.
Yikes. Yeah, he is a Gumby, just a clay mold of shit.
I always think of that picture. It was around the time of course, it was after the election when they're like claiming election fraud, and Giuliani was like at a press conference or something, and he had like his hair dyed that day, and he's got the dye,
that's my favorite.
Running
the
down
drip.
his face. He just looks like a complete shit turd of a person. Like just like everything inside of him is gross.
That's when he was up there with Sidney Powell.
Oh yeah.
She was the Sidney Powell looks like the elementary school teacher that everyone hated. That was so fucking mean.
Yeah.
That elementary school teacher that's just mean as
Absolutely.
a motherfucker.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? Why are you so? What's happening at home? Why are you so hateful?
Yeah, absolutely. As soon as you said that, I pictured mine. I don't want to say her name because I'm sure she's a fine lady now. She's probably dead now, actually.
I was gonna say, time's a motherfucker, TJ. We are not.
I'm an old ass man. Yeah.
I know. I often think back and like sometimes I'll think of certain people and then I'll do math and I'll go, oh, they're probably not here.
Yeah, totally.
What else did I get? Oh yeah.
If you're innocent, why are you taking the Fifth Amendment?
Oh,
it's a solid question, Don. Solid question, Donnie.
God, that was my favorite thing about the Daily Show. They were so good about bringing back sound bites.
Yeah.
I love that. It's like people
use
forget
their own
that
words against them, man.
Recording is a thing.
That's what I'm. Yeah, the internet is forever, baby.
If you're innocent, why are you taking the Fifth Amendment?
This is the America that I know and love.
God, her voice is nails on a chalkboard. Every time I hear it, I'm like, throw up in my mouth.
My depression just kicked in. Just hearing.
There for a little while, I had a little Kubert sound because we were calling her Lauren Kubert.
Nice. It's still, I cannot believe some of these people. I know. It's like, I know why. Like, you go out in the world.
The election is rigged. All right. That election was fraudulent. We got to look into the Boebert election, the Dominion voting software, and Hugo Chavez. How do these people keep? Okay, so the Hugo Chavez thing, and then the quote about Roger Ailes on a daily. How do they keep bringing up people who have been long dead? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
JFK Jr. is coming back. Like, what?
Yeah.
What is with these?
Yeah.
JFK Jr. was pretty liberal from what I remember.
Yeah.
But then again, so was Trump in the 90s. So
whenever I heard JFK Jr.
not really. He wasn't liberal. He was but he supported the Clintons.
Yeah. He was hanging out with the Clintons and 100% probably paid for 1,000 abortions.
No doubt. No doubt.
Yeah. They talked about today on I think it was Meet the Press also, where like a lot of abortion stuff is getting hot again, and Republicans are going to have some like interesting campaign choices to make because a lot of Republicans are mad about abortion stuff, just as mad as progressive people. And I was just talking about how Trump like basically did this, like he appointed the judges he knew were going to do this, but is now like being like, yeah, they shouldn't have done that. And it's like, motherfucker, you did this. Well,
the thing is he went in there, and I think the Supreme Court justices, a lot of the Supreme Court choices were based around abortion, but those were being pushed to him by like the Heritage Foundation and shit.
That's true.
Donald Trump didn't know those people's names.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of other choices were Donald Trump looking for who he thought was the most conservative judges, that if a case of his was brought before them, who would be on his side.
Absolutely.
If Donald,
everything is self-serving.
Like I was going to say, any judge that Donald had a direct hand in choosing was based on who he thought would give him the most bias.
When he lost the election.
Exactly.
He thought just saying the words voter fraud was going to get like, the Supreme Court takes care of the rest.
Exactly. And he didn't know any of these people's names because, you know what I mean? He just knew like, okay, who's the most conservative one? Who's the most Trumpy? And then he puts them in. And then when the case gets there and he realizes that that a lot of them are still going to just do their job objectively. And so the cases get thrown the fuck out, except for the one chick in the Mar-a-Lago case that was really trying hard to do favors for him. Yeah. But then the other courts were like, bitch, you need to step back. Are you crazy? You can't do that. Yeah. I forget her name. And then they're also, they're throwing other lawyers under the bus in some of this shit too. Yeah. Like in the Mar-a-Lago case, what they did to that Christina Bobb chick.
Oh, really?
She was a lawyer, but she was like a OAN person. Like she was on OAN, right?
Yeah.
And then they got her to come over there when the other lawyer, god damn it, what's his name? So he drafted this thing that said, hey, we gave back all the documents, swear to God, cross our heart, hope to die, put a needle in my eye. Signed, Christina Bobb. So he wrote it, but wouldn't fucking sign it, made her, be the patsy and sign it. And like, she's probably going to lose her law license over it and shit. Like, it's wild, man. Like the fact that those people aren't all turning evidence against him, like, I mean, some of them have to be. Yeah. Some of them have to be,
Sure.
I think the only way Mark Meadows isn't getting, prosecuted for ducking his subpoena is that he gave them some shit that they wanted.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's a high, like, if you're, if you prosecuted Steve Bannon for it, but not Mark Meadows, Mark Meadows had a lot more information to offer than fucking Steve Bannon.
Totally.
Like, let's be real.
Yeah.
Pence still trying to duck
that guy. He's playing such a weird game of tightrope right now. He's like, how do I condemn Trump while also keeping everyone who loves him loving me,
while
also pretending like they didn't want to murder me.
There was a funny segment on Morning Joe where he was trying to make a reference of Donald Trump being the Voldemort of the Republican Party because none of them would say his name, like Nikki Haley and Mike Pence didn't want to say his name, and it was really funny because in very typical Joe Scarborough fashion, it was not as concise as he'd hoped it was, but Harry Potter people were like, yeah, I'm with you fucking 100%. I'm on board. But Mika's sitting there next to him like, are you fucking okay? What is wrong with you right now? What words are you saying? It was really funny. But yeah, these but there was also a very missed opportunity for a great little line because he said talking about Mike Pence sort of teasing his official presidential run. And he said, are we getting pensy? Is it getting pensy in here? And I'm like, Joe, the word pensive is right fucking there. Pensive, baby. You missed it. It was you just foul tipped it. You almost that foul tip went straight back, which means you barely missed it, bud. Yikes.
Yeah. And this whole he won't testify. Like just watching him like dodge questions while also trying to like show that he is
I mean, I think he's basically, he's in a spot where he's like these other people. He's like, I either have to go into court and tell the truth, or I have
Fox News thing,
or I have to go in and perjure myself,
Yeah.
And now that, especially with the with what's happening in Georgia with the grand jury report coming out, or it hasn't been released, but being finalized, and the all the suggestions for indictments have now been turned over to the DA, and among them are almost a dozen or more suggestions of indictments for perjury. So we're already finding out that some of these motherfuckers are opting for the perjury route and they're getting busted on it. And now they're getting suggestion. And I can't wait until we see the list of who's being suggested for perjury indictments. I mean, if I'm going to speculate, I'm going to guess Giuliani. I'm going to guess Lindsey Graham. I'm going to guess couple of lawyers, and that's the other thing too. The big thing is the lawyer that drafted the thing that Christina Bobb
signed.
Yes, they are now saying that they can basically move him to testify because, of course, executive privilege, or not executive privilege, attorney-client privilege. There is the crime and fraud exception, which means that if anything you and your lawyer are saying to each other in the commission of a crime, lawyer privilege is no longer valid.
Nice.
So if they are in the process of knowingly committing a crime, then they don't have attorney-client privilege anymore, and they can make that motherfucker testify.
Oops.
Yeah, all this shit is getting interesting, man. All these people that are caught lying. The one thing I did want to dip very briefly into is the did you see the grand jury foreman's little press tour that she's on?
Oh, was she the one who like hinted that Trump might be?
She's the one that came out a little bit too smiley and grinny, talking about how there's not going to be any big spoilers or no.
That's right. I did see a little bit.
No big plot twists was the word she used.
Yeah. Weird.
Here's my thing. Do I want that information? Abso-fucking-lutely, I do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is it a good idea? No, because at the end of the day, this is giving a lot of ammunition to the right to say that the process is flawed and that. However, the one good part is that the judge in the case came out basically saying, "Look, here's the statute, or however you want to put it, that basically says here's the wording that says that at this point in the process, these people are free to talk about these things."
Yeah.
Up to a certain point, and that she is well within her rights to say these things. Does it make it a good idea politically? Yeah. I don't think so. Yeah. I still think it's a bad idea, and I wish it wouldn't have happened. Yeah. But I hate to use the term, but from a journalistic standpoint, do we want the information? Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it's the way it was the way it came out,
Yeah, I thought it was strange too.
I feel like maybe if that information was like given out in one print article and that's it, and then that was distributed or whatever. Yeah. But being on all the different interviews, this is like a press tour.
Yeah.
That's what the part that I'm like, come on, please don't fuck this up.
Yeah. Everyone wants a little bit of 15 minutes.
I think a little bit of them, a little bit of like the judges and the DAs are like, look, this case is so fucking strong, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. There was someone from the New York district attorney office who wrote a book who has a similar thing, right? Like he wrote a book.
So the guy that wrote the book was actually an assistant DA under the previous SDNY DA, the one that decided not to bring charges before he
mad
left.
about it, right?
Him and one other person resigned, basically saying, I can't fucking believe that you have this information and aren't bringing indictments. We're fucking out of here.
Yeah.
So he left, and he wrote a book about it.
And then they later decided to go on, right?
Well, there's a new DA.
No, yeah,
there's a new DA that's kind of going back into it and looking back into it.
Because
and they're the one that brought the charges against the Trump organization.
Okay, yeah.
But not Trump the individual yet.
Because they were asking that guy, like, isn't it a little soon to like come out with this book? Like, aren't you messing with the case and all this? And he was basically the same thing. He was like, oh, at this point I can talk about
he's like, they didn't bring the fucking charges. What do you want? Like,
yeah.
I mean, shit, dude. I mean, I think there's a difference between tainting the jury pool and being like, look, here's the publicly known evidence that we presented, and this is the case that was given, and he chose not to, and we thought that was fucked up.
I'm a huge fan of just like relentless transparency. You know, I'm all for like people just out there saying shit they shouldn't be saying if it's the truth, right?
Yeah.
Like, because that is the only way to combat it. That's the only way to combat the false shit. You know, it's just people boldly telling the truth.
I know
when they shouldn't, when they other people wouldn't. You know,
cameras and microphones everywhere, always.
Yeah,
for real.
Yeah,
like what do I gotta fucking hide?
Totally.
I mean, yeah, you might find out some kind of weird stuff every now and again.
Yeah. I've been embarrassed before. We do comedy. We say all kinds of weird shit.
We don't give a shit anymore. Here's the thing: if we haven't already talked about it on stage,
exactly,
it's not going to be that big of a surprise.
Exactly. I've talked about all parts of my body on stage. I can. I've basically been naked on stage. So
Mine by description.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
I've always described my oddly shaped body as well. How I'm all torso like the guy from Despicable Me. Like my legs are kind of normal, but it like from waist up, it's a lot bigger.
Torso, baby.
And it's like, how are those legs doing? What else? I think we got a lot, man.
Cover it all right.
Yeah, do we had discussed maybe starting a little end segment where we lighten things up and do a non-political thing by maybe giving an album suggestion.
Totally.
You have anything offhand?
I do, man. It's an album. It's not new. It's a few years old.
Never has to be new. Yeah. We'll do old shit. We'll do new shit. We'll do all sorts of genres. But every week, maybe we'll tell you something cool to listen to if you're a music fan.
So it's a hip-hop artist, Tierra Whack is her name, and her album that I love is called Whack World.
Whack World.
And it's kind of like her demo in a way. Every song on the album, I think it's like 15 tracks maybe, is 1 minute long. Every song is only 1 minute long, and it just like features her skill as an MC and a producer, and she just has such a playful like flow, like hip-hop style, and the songs are so fun, and just like the little 1 minute blast, I just love it. Like I listen to it in my car all the time.
Tierra,
yeah, I can tell you the spelling of her name. I'll try to do that as I talk. But yeah, it's just great to listen to in your car. It's an amazing to show like what you can accomplish in 1 minute. Like working at local news, I always find it fascinating, like the amount of stories we can tell in 1 minute.
Yeah,
and it's great seeing the same happening in music, like a complete song that just like, and sometimes it's so good you want to hear more than a minute. You're like, damn, I wish this song was full length, but yeah, she's great. Tierra Whack. So it's Tierra Whack, WHACK. Whack World. It came out in 2018.
Nice.
Yeah.
Mine is a band that's been out for over 20 years now, but they keep putting out stuff and keep evolving. A band called Thrice.
Nice.
Thrice, THRICE. They came up in the emo phase sort of, but they were definitely one of the heavier versions. They had a little bit more like classic metal influence, but they've since evolved a lot in their style. There's a newer album a couple of years old now called Horizons/East. That is a little bit more digital in spots. There's a little bit of jazz piano with some very like heavyish riffs. I would definitely no longer describe Thrice as a metal band.
Yeah.
They are definitely a lot more progressive and interesting nowadays.
Reminds me of like Faith No More, kind of how they started off metal. I mean, to me, they became like much more than that.
Yeah, they've had quite an evolution and a lot of albums to check out. So yeah, check out Horizons East by Thrice.
Cool, man.
And other than that, keep watching the bills. Keep paying attention to all the things that you can. There might be city council meetings coming up where you could speak against these things. We'll be looking out for that. I'm going to start trying to I'm going to try and start keeping better tabs on any of those type of things that people could potentially attend, and try and get those out to you in case you're unaware, but you're willing and wanting to go to those type of things.
Yeah.
Because that can make a big difference too. So we'll try and get those to you as well. We'll try and get more social media posts to you as well, so we can engage with you a little bit more. We're MaxNews Podcast on the things, so give us a follow. Anything else you want to throw out there or plug or anything?
No, keep up. There's a special election coming up in a couple weeks.
March 7th.
Yeah.
March 7th, there's a state question 820, which is the legalization of recreational marijuana use. I don't remember what else is on that.
It might be the only thing. It's a special
Okay.
election.
I couldn't remember if there was any other questions on that.
I don't know if they tacked on anything else or not.
Okay. They tend to do that every once in a while.
Yeah.
They'll squeeze something in and be like, oh, let's see if we can trick them into voting for this too.
Yeah. How can we bring in more no votes?
Sneaky fuckers.
Worst.
Yeah, they're like, a lot of people are going to show up to vote for this that wouldn't vote for other things, so let's sneak in some fucked up shit. So hopefully there's none of that. Look out for it.
Which is why it didn't get on the last, during the actual election cycle, because they didn't want all the weed supporters coming out
and voting for
the governor election.
They didn't want them to come out and vote against it.
Absolutely. And
that's why this is voting in March. Yep.
know.
Pay attention to those things too. They do those things on purpose. Yeah. They knew that more people would show up to vote that wouldn't vote in the general election because of the state question, so they moved it.
Evil, man.
It really
That's what
fucking
happens
is.
when one party runs a country.
Or a state.
Or state, sorry.
Yeah, the entire state. And they're
feels
trying
like
to do
a
it for the
country
whole country. Yeah, they want to.
Yeah.
They want to. But, stay alert. We'll see you next week. Maximum News is a production of OLA Ministries. All original music written, performed, and recorded by Kintz.